David Witt, the skipper of Sid Fisher's Ragamuffin 100, second across the line of the Hobart race. What a fantastic race and what a fantastic first night, David. What went wrong?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it fantastic, but it was certainly challenging. I mean, I'm sure you've spoken to some of the other boys, but basically most of us always think that when we're running in a nor'easter and we run into a southerly front coming around Gobo, there's a bit of a transition period where it goes light. And the problem happened this year, it wasn't actually the front that got us all into trouble. Like Oates and I we were only a couple hundred metres apart. And it was actually a rain squall in front of the front that got us into trouble. So all of a sudden we went from doing 20 knots with an A3 up into a 45 knot rain squall with horizontal rain and pitch black, no moon, couldn't see, all that sort of stuff. So it was quite difficult to manage at the time, but we got ourselves out of it in one piece somehow, luckily.
And when the front hit you,
yep.
I believe you did a 180, did you?
Well, no, what happened was we were actually in quite good shape. We actually furled earlier than the Oates and had less sails in the air. So we thought we were in really good shape, but then once the A3, the masthead, was furled, we were dropping it, it started to unfurl on the drop. So then we had two options: to drop it in the water, which we tried to do and couldn't do it quick enough, or turn around and run south. So we actually turned around and I turned around and ran north in it, back where we'd come from for we lost about 12 miles, I think, just trying to manhandle it to get it down. So that was okay. Then in the process of doing that, we dropped the mainsail because it just became survival then. I knew all the hundreds were going to have similar problems. So we got the headsail on and we were sailing back upwind with the mainsail down, just the headsail up. And in the process of that, we had obviously the keel fully canted to one side and 6 tonne of water. And the mainsail was in the lazy jacks, and leeward lazy jacks broke. So the mainsail fell off the boom onto the leeward wheel, which meant then I couldn't steer the boat, and the boat just basically rounded up and went into an auto tack and laid up on top of ourselves. So then we found ourselves horizontal on the ground, mast in the water, 6 tonne of water and the keel on the wrong side of the boat. So that became a bit of a challenge to sort out. And in that process is when obviously one of the bowmen ended up over the side, and I ended up over the side. What happened to me was not all the mainsail fell on the wheel. Part of the mainsail fell on the wheel, caused the auto tack. But then obviously when we flopped over on the wrong side, the rest of it decided to come from that height and land on me and push me over the side. So fortunate enough, the boat wasn't moving. It was stationary, laying on its side. So it was only a brief trip back to the vessel.
Were you tied on?
No.
Have a jacket on?
No. There's honesty for you, though.
There's ocean racing for you, mate.
Yeah. I should have had a jacket on.
Yeah.
No doubt. And there's 1,000 reasons why I should have, and probably 1,000 reasons why I didn't get around to it. But I'm not too keen on tethering on, actually, unless I'm on the bow, and I try not to be on the bow at my age. Because I think it sort of back at the back end of those big hundreds where we are, you end up putting in more strife than you can get in. We had one guy overseas once fall over with a long tether on, and he was over the side, and the boat's doing 25 knots, and he basically nearly drowned before.
Couldn't pull him out.
And we can't pull him back. We can't slow the boat down. We end up cutting the tether, letting him go, and going back to get him. So, what sort of works on most boats doesn't always work on a 100-footer, and safe from a safety aspect.
During all this, did you see Rambler at that stage?
Yeah, no, we didn't really see Rambler, but we saw the sore Oates. So we almost had a near collision. I don't know if the big fella will tell you about it, but the boys on Oates told me they could read the instruments in our cockpit. So when I decided to run north with the rain squall and try and get the boat under control, they were still battling head to wind, sort of trying to go into it with their full mainsail up. And we almost hit them. I was running by the lee doing 25 knots.
I was going to say you've been doing 25 or 30.
I was doing 25 knots into a northerly swell, so the boat was
up and down, yeah.
And all I could see was a stern light. And you could have thrown a tennis ball and hit Oates as we went past in opposite directions, so the conversion speed would have been up there. So that could have been a near disaster. But when you get in those situations, it's all about just thinking on your feet, and you can't really pre-plan any of that stuff.
Got to ask the question: how was Sid during all this?
Sid was in the bunk. It was on. It was about think it was about 8:30 at night or something. So he'd had dinner. He was in the bunk, and lucky enough, when the boat auto tacked, he ended up on the low side, which was quite fortunate.
Oh, good, yeah.
Quite fortunate for the old boy. If it was on the other side and he'd been thrown out of the bunk, we could have killed him. So that was fortunate.
The 8th edition of the RORC Caribbean 600 started in spectacular style with a record 70 yachts gathering in the starting area outside English Harbour, Antigua, under the Pillars of Hercules. The magnificent collection of yachts started the 600-mile race in a sublime 14-knot southeasterly breeze with brilliant sunshine. It was shorts and t-shirts for all. In the IRC 0 and IRC Canting Kill division, it was the most impressive start in the 8 years history of the race, featuring 25 head-turning yachts. The 115-foot Baltic Regatta tried to use her might to win the pin end, but encountered severe congestion, forcing the Serb yacht to round on the wrong side of the pin. The Lithuanian Volvo 60 amber sail were over-eager and had no ram to bear away and sailed around the pin end. The Irish Cookson 50 Lee Overlay Partners was adjudged OCS and had to restart. The Dutch Kerr 51 Tonnerre 4 with octogenarian owner Pete Vroon on board had a cracking start, as did Hapfaith's Maxi 72 Belamonte, going for speed and heading for the lifts up the cliffs. Jim Clark and Kirsty Hins Clark's 100-foot Maxi had a slightly conservative run up to the line before the big winches growled in a dial down and Comanche powered up and accelerated into the lead. The penultimate start featured two of the largest yachts competing in the RORC Caribbean 600. Southern Wind 102 Favela executed a textbook start to begin the 600-mile race, assisted by a crew including Steve Hales as navigator, winner of the race with Nicholas Enstrom's Ran in 2012. The magnificent sight of the 178-foot schooner Addix crossing the line, also under full sail, drew gasps from the crowd ashore. Addix is the first of the three-masted schooners to take part in the race. In the Mokra multi-hull division, 6 multi-hulls including Mod 70, Photo 3 and Concise 10 lined up for the last start of the day. Photo and Concise locked horns in the pre-start as expected, with Photo co-skippered by Lord Thornburg and Brian Thompson, gaining a small but significant advantage at the start. Concise had to tack offshore to escape the bad air and ploughed through several spectator boats that had gathered close to the exclusion zone. The two Mod 70s are expected to have a titanic battle over the next 2 days. Belgian Z6 reported to have broken a dagger board before the start, but managed to repair it in time to begin the race.
The Royal Sydney Yacht Squadron, set in a stunning backdrop of Sydney Harbour, where for the past 4 days, the 2016 Rolex Farr 40 World Championship has been fiercely contested. The one design format of the Farr 40 Worlds has a reputation for producing incredibly close and spectacularly exciting yacht racing, and this year's event has more than lived up to that billing. On the first day, 3 races and 3 different winners, as the 12-strong fleet battled 20-knot winds and an unforgiving swell. Victories going to Flash Gordon 6 from the USA, German yacht Strunchy Light and Corinthian Australian team Edache. However, success in this regatta is judged over a yacht's performance in all 11 races, meaning to win the coveted title requires faultless teamwork, dogged determination, and above all else, consistency. With all three race winners unable to repeat their performances, it was the pre-race favourites Plenty who came out on top. No outright race victories, but a consistent set of great results took them to the top of the leaderboard on day one. On day two, the racing moved inside Sydney Harbour, and Alex Roper's team from the USA then put on a masterful display of faultless teamwork, as Plenty took victory in the first race of the day, leading from start to finish. However, it was a term of Plenty's opposition to dig deep and display dogged determination, to not let the 2014 champions run away with the regatta. Fantastic performances from Helmut and Evan Yarn's Flash Gordon 6, and local Australian team Transfusion kept all three yachts in the hunt for the title at the halfway mark in the regatta. With the top three places unchanged after day three, it all came down to a dramatic finale on the fourth and final day. Just two races remaining, could either Flash Gordon or Transfusion close the 4-point gap on Plenty? The start of race 10, the penultimate race of the regatta, and disaster for Flash Gordon 6. A costly error at the start saw them relegated to the back of the fleet, dashing their chances of the championship title. But no such misfortune for Transfusion. They sailed a great race to take the win and close the gap on Plenty to just 2 points. And so it was all down to the final race. Would it be Alex Roper's Plenty or Guido Belgiorno Nettis' Transfusion? A great start, but then an error by Transfusion cost them a penalty turn, leaving the way open for Plenty to close out this incredibly close and exciting regatta. Over the 11 races, Plenty have sailed superbly and made few mistakes. Great teamwork, determination and consistency have made them worthy winners of the 2016 Rolex Farr 40 World Championship title.
It's phenomenal. It's a dream come true. I mean, we battled very, very hard last year, came up short, and we battled very hard here, and we just put it all together very consistently, both in the pre-worlds and in the worlds. But it was an incredible battle, and huge credit to all our competitors, and particularly Transfusion.
Alex Roper's and the team of Plenty, winners of the 2016 Rolex Farr 40 World Championship.
Iain Murray is about to go off to Oman for the Louis Vuitton series. And what's the prediction up there? What's going to happen? How's it going in a new venue like that?
Well, it's a new venue for the America's Cup, Louis Vuitton America's Cup World Series, but it's not a new venue. The Extremes have been there for a number of years, and so it's a nice venue. It's nice sailing, it's open water, can be a bit choppy because it's a bit shallow, but you get a wide variety of breezes, and probably anything from lightish breezes. Last year in the Extremes they had 20 knots, so I think it'll be testing for everyone. It's a bit more open water than we've seen in a lot of our venues, so stay tuned. Hopefully the breeze will be kind to us, and we'll have a good week. Well, the modelling at the moment says 8 to 9 knots, so is that, and it's just above the minimum, so... Yeah, 6 knots minimum, 25 knots maximum, so look, anywhere in between there. Yeah. I think everyone would like to see 10 knots plus. The boats really get a wriggle on then, and we'll keep our fingers crossed a long way out. How many teams? Just the 6 teams. Just the 6 teams, yeah. Are they doing two-boat testing at the moment, or...? A lot of the teams are two-boat testing. 2 teams are two-boat testing. Artemis were out sailing in Bermuda with a couple of boats, and Oracle have been out with 2 boats for a while now. So Ben Ainsley are in England sailing their test boat, and New Zealand have been down in with the old Luna Rossa boat. So there's a lot of, and Japan are in Bermuda with a test boat as well. So there's a lot of sailing going on, and more to come. As it's it's getting into the final throes of the business end of this thing, and you know, every day counts.
Well, you've got what, New York, Chicago?
Yeah, we have a busy year. We have Oman, New York, Chicago, and then we go back to Portsmouth, Toulon, and then hopefully in Asia in the end of the year, and one more in the beginning of 2017.
Whereabouts will that be?
Well, you know, they're working on an Asian country, and you know, this year with our first races in the Middle East, so you know, we've got to be in that sort of climate.
You've changed the naming of the days, etc., and the day ones and rather than Saturdays and Sundays, etc. How will that affect as far as the scoring?
It's not going to affect. Well, it doesn't affect the scoring. It doesn't change anything. There's 2 race days, and it's just really to deal with if we go to the Middle East and we can't sail on Sunday or Friday or Saturday. So it's just precautionary wording to make sure that we can race on the given days in that particular country.
So can you add a day to the schedule?
That's not the plan. The plan is, you know, we're racing for 2 days. The plan has changed, and we're testing running 3 races a day in Oman. We did that on the final day in Bermuda, and it worked well. So they want to test it further to see if you know, the people, the folks at home like it.
Oye, ¿qué pasará si mi novia no viene? Déjala que goce un poco más. Oye, Manchito, pero ¿qué consejo me están dando los muchachos, Déjala que goce un poco más. Déjala que goce, ella también tiene derecho. Déjala que goce un poco más. Está bien que se divierta, pero que regrese, que yo la espero. Déjala que goce un poco más.
Yeah, you know, the reason I bought the CNC 30 is I absolutely love one design racing. I mean, that's where my passion is. But I also like these coastal passages. You know, I love this boat, and I want to go find some downwind, downhill, 90-mile races and just set the kite and just go. My tactician on my buoy racing called me one day and said, "Bob, you want to go to Cuba?" I'm like, really? And so he sent me the link to the Conch Cup. And I immediately said, we got to do this thing. I mean, it's like a bucket list thing this time. And I used to do a lot of traveling, and this is one of the top experiences of my life, traveling, much less going by sailboat. For, you know, a crew of 6 guys to get on a boat, race to Cuba, spend a couple days, you know, in Cuba, getting to know some of the Cuban people. You know, it was just an amazing experience to experience Cuba today, you know, before we all know a lot of changes coming. So we stayed with a local group, got to know some of the local people there, walked through Old Havana, spent a lot of time walking through Old Havana. It was just a very unique experience, and then to wake up and go sailing out of Cuba was amazing.
Oh no, where's the... Yeah, leave it to your right. Our positions from back to front are Otto and Ashley are going to do the runners. Bob's driving. I'm going to do the main. Andrew's going to be primary headsail trim. Tyler, you're going to be secondary headsail trim and pit. Grady's going to do bow. And I mean, basic maneuver-wise, when we're just reaching around pre-start, I think it's effective to have port and starboard jib trimmers and port and starboard runner trimmers. When we're attacking in a race, one thing that's really important that this boat really likes is tacking onto a firm backstay, so the jib, you know, the forestay isn't wobbling all over the place. So I'll say ready to tack, 3, 2, 1, tacking. And at ready to tack, I think Ashley goes to lure. 3, 2, 1 tacking, you go high speed, backstay on. Ready? Ready guys? 3, 2, 1, hoist. No? Well. Nice little increasing pressure here.
Ay, qué rico es el ritmo pilón para que lo baile usted. El ritmo pilón para que lo baile
First time on a CNC 30, thanks to Bob. And I was just saying that it's like a big boat and a small boat at the same time.
Salona, this is Bobsled on 6'8". I would just like to inquire if you have any spare beers, frosties, or liquid sambos on board. We are willing to pay top dollar for this. If you would be so kind to tape them to the fender and chuck it overboard, we're happy to pick up the merchandise.
There they are, they're not too far away. Let's do it.
From Argentine people!
You guys are heroes! Alright, this one goes to the translator. Katie, Mr. Bob. Now that's some good navigating.
It was really, there's a lot of great races in the world, but this was pretty unique. You know, 3 60 to 90 mile legs with some buoy racing in the middle and to ports that I'm not sure when the last time there was a legal race to Havana. It might have been the first one. The Cuban people were so excited. They were very engaged in having the race come to Cuba. A taxi driver would ask if we were part of the regatta coming over, and we said yes. He goes, and you were the champions coming over, right? And I said, well, we were. And he goes, really? And he was all excited. It was great. They definitely like athletic sporting events. We were all invited to be members of the Hemingway Yacht Club in Havana.
Of Tourism of Cuba.
The boat was fantastic downwind. I think this is the first real offshore race done on a CNC 30. The boat was designed to do both buoy racing but also be an offshore boat, and I think we just proved that it has no problem going offshore really well. I mean, we had no problems, never felt uncomfortable. In fact, I think our top boat speeds were like 17 knots. We had 20 knots plus on the quarter. We were doing 17 knots and completely in control. The boat felt great. It set up great. We were fortunate the winds were perfect for us. But to be able to tie that type of sailing together with a cultural experience like visiting Havana and Cuba, it was a bucket list thing that I just don't know how you parallel it.